Cultural relations between our two great nations are as old as our civilization. In recent times, we get to see the life of Afghanistan through our Hindi movies. The people of India will be only happy to see regular exchange visits by cultural groups in both the countries. Excellency President, one of the biggest achievements of India since attaining independence in 1947 is the strengthening and deepening of its democracy and its democratic institutions. As the largest democratic and developing country in the world, India understands and appreciates the concerns of the developing countries of Asia and Africa. India is committed to extend all possible assistance to the developing nations in Asia and Africa to attain their development goals and to meet the aspirations of the people. The conference is an excellent opportunity for students to understand international relations in their proper perspective, and I'm sure it will be a rewarding experience for all of them. I am as keen to hear President Karzai's keynote address as all of you are. And therefore, I conclude my speech by thanking Symbiosis for inviting me once again and wishing you fruitful deliberations. Jai Hind, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that enlightening speech. The first democratically elected leader of Afghanistan, he is the man who brought stability and economic growth to a country which had not witnessed it for a long, long time. It gives me great pleasure to invite His Excellency, Mr. Hamid Karzai, GCMG, President of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, to deliver his keynote address.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honourable Governor of Maharashtra, Honourable President of Symbiosis University, Professor Majumdar, ladies and gentlemen on the dais, students, faculty, honorable guests here today. It's a tremendous pleasure for me to be in this prestigious and yet more importantly, visionary institution of learning. Professor Majumdar, I read your biography while in Kabul and on my way to India. And what you just showed us on the video, I read also on my way to India. For you to have a feeling for a student who was ill with jaundice, and for you to recognize the circumstances of his living and to connect that to improvement and to have from that division of a university based on a botanical name of which you are a professor is a remarkable talent. I wish we all had the feeling, the emotions, and then the vision that you showed, resulting in this remarkable university on top of a hill. The Honorable Governor, Shankar Narayanan, was very kind to host me twice. Once in Mumbai, and then last night in cooperation with you for dinner. I'm very pleased. I did not expect such a setting or such a lovely environment. I wish I was younger, so I could have divided time between Pune, Symbiosis, and Shimla. I wouldn't give up on Shimla, but I would have divided the time between the two places. Also, before I go to my own remarks, I heard from Professor Majumdar a remark about studying in India and the studies that a lot of us aspire to have in the West, in America and elsewhere in the West. No doubt, as far as education is concerned, in the dry sense of it, they give you in the West good quality. They make you good engineers, good doctors, sometimes even good political scientists. What they don't give most of the time is a moral value. And that's extremely important for the whole of us around the world, especially for countries like ours who need to move ahead, who need also to be fully endowed with moral qualities. Therefore, I am in full agreement with you. As you know, sir, politicians are rarely in full agreement on anything. But I am with you in full agreement. The story of Afghanistan and India, as the Honorable Governor referred to, is an old story. It begins long time back, and it will continue for a very long time. From Mahabharata to the centuries of relationship and to the modern times. I would consider the modern times for us to begin to cut a chart in terms of space of time, say, in the later part of 19th century and the whole of the 20th century. This is where Afghanistan and India found a political get-together for two different purposes. Afghanistan, luckily for us, became home for some of the stalwarts of India's movement for independence. Mahendra Pratap and Subhash Chandra Bose both found home in Afghanistan. Actually, there was an effort of a government in exile against the British rule in Afghanistan. Afghanistan did provide what it could to the independence movement of India. Especially, this was true during the reign of King Amanullah, who himself was the first freedom fighter of the country in regaining Afghanistan's foreign policy independence from the then British Raj. From the Indian side, the story was not so much political in the beginning. It was more about providing Afghanistan with better education, even then. So, in the beginning of 20th century, with the establishment of modern schools in Afghanistan, especially one called Habibia, among the oldest schools in Afghanistan, established in the beginning of the 20th century, it was Indian teachers who provided specially training or education in English language and the sciences, mathematics and physics and other subjects. Also, remarkably, this teacher-student and education relationship between Afghanistan and India led to a constitutional monarchical government in Afghanistan, to a movement on it. It was the ideas of the Indian teachers then who were inculcating the idea of a constitutional monarchy in young Afghan students, that the movement for a constitutional monarchy began in Afghanistan. It did not succeed for a long time, and then ultimately Afghanistan suddenly became a republic in 1973. But this deep relationship between Afghanistan and India began to take very deep roots in 2002. With the Bonn Conference in Germany, and with the establishment of the new government in Afghanistan, and with the arrival of the rest of the world in Afghanistan to help Afghanistan fight extremism and terrorism and to rebuild Afghanistan, this is where India showed its color of friendship with Afghanistan. India, as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, is not known to be a traditional donor. But India provided Afghanistan over $2 billion. And over $2 billion of quality money. That every dollar that India assigned to Afghanistan was spent on a project of significance to long-term development and proper infrastructure. India built for us the electricity transmission lines from northern Afghanistan to Kabul and beyond. India is constructing a very lovely building for our parliament. India is building a water dam for us. India has smaller developmental projects all over the country, impacting on the quality of life and economic generation in Afghanistan. Now, as the Honourable Governor of Maharashtra referred to, India and Afghanistan have also signed a strategic partnership agreement, meaning that India and Afghanistan see shared interests, shared opportunities, and shared dangers. We all know the story of extremism and terrorism as it is affecting us, both of us, for a long time. So India and Afghanistan have a shared purpose in fighting radicalism, in removing extremism, in making our civilian population safe from bombs and attacks. India and Afghanistan also, in terms of sharing of interests, need to trade with one another and trade beyond one another. That India will, through Afghanistan, have access to Central Asia, which India calls Connect Central Asia plan or vision, which Afghanistan also in India sees a vast market for all of our goods. So if you can have an access to the Indian market, Afghanistan need not go to the rest of the world. We will sell all our goods in here. India and Afghanistan also have a long-term vision. We are both democratic countries. You are an old, established democracy. We are a new, rising democracy. But both of us have proven in our vision for a democratic life that, as against the predictions with regard to Indian democracy almost 65 years ago in part of the world press of pessimism for India being a country with huge illiteracy, poor economy, and the predictions that a country with these two deficiencies would not be a strong democracy. India proved them wrong. India emerged to be the biggest democracy in the world and indeed the best democracy in the world. There has not been an instant of hesitation in the Indian public on the democratic values that they have taken to their hearts. Afghanistan proved the same. Against all odds, the Afghan people came out to vote and participate. The democratic practice in Afghanistan is well established. We remember stories. I'm sure similar stories must have been there 65 years ago after India's independence when you were electing your new parliament. I don't know if it was 1952 or 51, probably 52, the first parliament, 52. Must have been the same stories as we saw in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, in the province of Farah, an elderly woman comes to the voting station where she wants to cast her vote. And when she casts her vote, she has another card with her and says, I want to vote for my daughter too. The registrar of the voting station tells her that you can't do that. And vote is an individual and nobody else can vote on behalf of another person. She says, but she's my daughter. And she has asked me to vote for her. They say, no, bring her. She says, I can't bring her because she's right now giving birth